How's it going, everybody? This is Dominic Minchella. I am the Kansas City Chiefs co-beat writer for On SI and the host of the Kansas City Chiefs Insider Podcast. Thank you guys so much for stopping in today. As today, we will be diving into the 2025 NFL draft class for the Kansas City Chiefs and grade them thus far from how that they have performed since donning the Kansas City Chiefs uniform. We'll dive into every single one of them. There's 7 of them, as we know, and we'll be discussing things more or less on how they've contributed to the roster, the upside of that they've shown, and some things that they could work on. There's going to be a lot of different things that they could work on. I just want to lay that out right now, but I might not get to them because I feel that rookies are always a group of players that are expected to be making these mistakes. I could go on and say like, oh, they're doing this wrong, they're doing this wrong. But I also do want to say that no one in the National Football League, whether you are a veteran or a rookie, is perfect at their job. That's the beauty of the game, and that's the entire reason as to why it is important to look at the little things that these rookies are doing while they are learning the folds of the National Football League. But without further ado, let's get into it. First off, with the first round draft pick in Josh Simmons. Now, as we know, Josh Simmons has been out for the past 2 weeks, dealing with some personal things that we've told. Andy Reid did say, though, that he is taken care of. Everything is going to be all right. And as a report that came out yesterday, he should be nearing a return relatively soon. That Chiefs offensive line looked tremendous with Josh Simmons on at the starting left tackle. But, the beauty of being able to go out and add Jalen Moore in free agency, it has kind of been a seamless transition while Josh Simmons is out. You've got Jalen Moore stepping in. But all in all, before Simmons stepped away from the team, I think that he has been doing a lot of good things for the Kansas City Chiefs. While he will get into some foul trouble or penalty trouble here and there, he is still a great improvement from what the Chiefs had last season on that offensive line. As you guys remember, Patrick Mahomes still found a way to will this Kansas City Chiefs team to their third straight Super Bowl. But it came with a career high number of sacks taken in 36. He also got sacked 6 times, I believe, in the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. Josh Simmons, his addition there, Kingsley Suamataia, his second year presence, it seems a little bit more put together. And I'm happy that they were able to get Josh Simmons. He was their top prospect throughout the entire draft process, in terms of everyone was taking him in mock drafts to go to Kansas City. It was just a match made in heaven, and the heavens came down and helped Kansas City's offensive line out with Josh Simmons. I do think he's doing good. Overall grade, I would give him like a B, maybe a B minus, because I still think that there's things to improve, but also he has missed those few last games. Omar Norman Lott, unfortunately, he did suffer a season-ending injury, but he even before then, he played in 5 games. He had a total tackle of 5 every single game. He had 1 sack. That was pretty impressive for him. He loves to throw up the 5.5. He talked about it, his number. But he also has 1 stuff. But when looking at the way that Omar Norman Lott has played, or his small role rather on the defensive line, defensive side of things, it's difficult to get him in there just because there's a lot of veteran presence and a lot of competition at that defensive tackle spot. Chris Jones did say that Omar Norman Lott, he was impressing him in the preseason, and unfortunately, it just didn't pan out for him in the first season. A lot of aggression that I suppose he wasn't necessarily ready for, but also, when he was out there, he was a key factor. As long as he's learning and he's still finding ways to help this team and kind of stay around and keeping himself mentally positive. An injury like that can take a guy out of things. But I hope that he's able to learn and still be able to do well. But based off of his improvement or his showing before he got injured, I would give him a C overall grade. Ashton Gillotte, third round pick. I think that Ashton Gillatte's been a really good pickup for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's played in 7 games, 9 total tackles, 4 of them solos, 5 assists, 1.5 stuffs. He's doing a great job. He has yet to get his first NFL sack, but he's also in a similar spot to how Omar Norman-Lott is. There's a lot of veteran presence at the defensive end position with George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu. There's a lot of depth at that position. However, he has made his presence known, and I would say that there was a projection of him being a top prospect and hopefully turning into a eventual starter. I think that he still has those traits. There are some things that he will have to work out, but I think that if someone goes down to injury, he'll be able to step up or maybe if it's a blowout or something like that, he'd be able to step in and help out. I'm very, very high on Ashton Gillotte. I think he's doing well. I would give him an overall grade of like a C+, though. I do think that Josh Simmons has played better considering he is a starter. Noel Williams, cornerback. He's also been a bright spot for Kansas City. He's got 3 passes defended in 7 games, 15 total tackles, 8 solos, 7 assists. I think that Noel Williams is doing a good job at cornerback. He's able to do multiple different things. Defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo talked very highly of him throughout the entire process that there was in the preseason as well into the regular season. I think he's doing a good job. Noel Williams is a player who's kind of a sneaky pickup for the Kansas City Chiefs. If you think about it, 3rd round pick, middle, kind of near the later round of the 3rd round. I still think that he is a guy similar to Gillotte. Those guys on defense could be the future of Kansas City, and I think that that's a good way of putting it. I will give Noel Williams a B grade, though, maybe a B-. I still think that Josh Simmons is the better performer. Jalen Royals hasn't had a whole lot of time to play, even though he was very highly talked about and being, having comparisons to Rashee Rice. But in his defense, the Chiefs' wide receiving room might be the most deep room that they've had in a second, especially with Rashee Rice back. Xavier Worthy is starting to get better and more healthy. Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown. There's a lot of competition, so much so that he has had to kind of resort to the returning role for his rookie season. He's had 1 attempt in a kickoff return go for 30 yards. And on defense, he's had 1 total tackle. So, Jalen Royals, there's a lot of potential there. He hasn't yet done anything. So given opportunities rather. But I would give him like a C-. Jeffrey Bossa, similar boat, linebacker, 5th round pick. Whether you use him on the defense or you use him on special teams, I still think that there's a lot of upside. He might be kind of in that category as a special teams defender, but I do think that there's a world where, Jeffrey Bossa, he's turning out to be well. I think that he's a very hardworking guy. He can play multiple different positions, and defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo loves that about guys like on his defense if they're able to do multiple different things. So through 7 games, though, Jeffrey Bossa, he's gotten just 4 tackles and just 1 assist. So I would say, all in all, probably like a C-, but that's not his fault. That's not his fault. It's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of competition. The reason that the Kansas City Chiefs are still so good is because they've been able to retain their players. And while they're able to add in these draft picks, it's difficult to get some of them going, especially with the star-studded talent you've got on both offense and defense. But a guy who has stepped forward for the Kansas City Chiefs this season has been Brashard Smith. In 7 games, 22 carries, 67 rushing yards. In receiving, he has 14 receptions out of 18 targets, 122 receiving yards. While he has yet to score a touchdown, he has gotten 7 first downs. He has gotten 2 on the rushing side of things and 5 on the receiving side of things. He's also been a good returner for kickoffs in 12 attempts. He's had 322 kickoff return yards. I think that Brashard Smith, I would say the 7th round pick, just based off of the fact that he's been able to play a little bit better or more consistently than Josh Simmons, I would give him a B as the highest grade. I think that he's been a crucial part of this Kansas City Chiefs offense. While they are still struggling on the rushing side of things, and Brashard Smith has been stopped and stuffed often, I think that his receiving abilities, being a former wide receiver turned into a running back, helps out Kansas City tremendously. This just shows that the front office knows what they're doing when talking about their rookies. But all in all, or I guess rather drafting the rookies. That being said, though, be sure you follow me over on X at Dom Minchella. I post and repost every single day. You're not going to want to miss any coverage of the Kansas City Chiefs while we get into Monday Night Football against the Washington Commanders, as well as throughout the rest of the regular season. You can also follow us over at KC Chiefs on SI. Everything gets posted there. Kansas City Chiefs on SI is the place to get your Kansas City Chiefs news. And as always, be kind to one another. I'll see you tomorrow.